Hello and welcome to the SLC Sunday Experience. I'm Paula Mandella and this is Soul Light Connection, and we want you to know you're in the right place at the right time. Right, Ann?
That's right, just where you are meant to be. And we want you to sing along with us because we know and you know your soul is welcome here. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I am meant to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I am meant to be. In the right place, I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I am meant to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I am meant to be. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. My soul is welcome. Yeah, your soul is welcome. Oh, our soul is welcome here. I'm in the right place at the right time. Right time. I am just where I am meant to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I am meant to be. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome. Oh, my soul is welcome. Oh, my soul is welcome. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome. I'm getting the message. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. My soul is welcome here. Put your hands together. My soul is welcome here. Tell them about it, Larry. My soul is welcome here. 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 My soul is welcome. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome
Wow, folks have brought the energy into the room this morning. Good morning, Reverend Deborah.
Good morning, Reverend James, and as he said, I'm Reverend Deborah Phillips, and we greet you this morning in the name of all that is good, all that is holy, and all that is sacred, and in the warm and loving energy of this ministry, Spiritual Life Center. Spiritual Life Center honors all people worshiping in temples, mosques, churches, stone circles, and the beautiful temples of nature, because we know that there is no place that God is not. And if this is your first time with us online or here in the sanctuary, we especially want to welcome you because we know that you are not here by accident. Every single one of us is here by divine appointment. And we're just thrilled to be back together again. We're thrilled that you're with us online. And we're also very thrilled when you silence your electronic devices as we go into prayer.
It's a thrilling experience. Well, let's connect with the presence of God in prayer, which is the highest thrill that we could ever have. We come under his government and guidance right now. And we lowly listen to this presence and speak only the words that come directly from the Christ presence within us. So they're vibrating and resonating with this presence that is always for us, seeking to uplift us and move us from where we are to where we can be when we're seen at our highest and best. So we look at a quality of God that we all agree with, that God is love. And everything ought to be done from the consciousness of this quality of love. And as we do so, something changes and transforms. in the twinkling of an eye, we can be in tune with that loving presence everywhere and in everything. Our entire planet can be expressing its potential and what God sees when we indeed are being our very best. So we're grateful to be the vessels and vehicles of this presence. We affirm this presence as the truth that liberates us and sets us free as we each go forth, multiplying and amplifying the all good, starting with ourselves and right where we are. And so it is, and so we let it be. Amen. Our mission here at Spiritual Life Center is as follows. We transform lives as we love, serve, and remember. And there are 5 basic principles that underlie everything that we say, think, and do as far as our philosophy here at Spiritual Life Center. And these 5 principles are as follows. God is absolute good and everywhere present. People are inherently good. Thoughts create our experiences. Prayer and meditation are how we connect with God, and we must take action.
And as we move into action this week, the podcast, Discovering Spirit Within, talks about forgiveness. You know, the idea of forgiveness is also something that we resist because if I say you should forgive somebody, the first thing you think of is, well, then that means I'm saying the other person was okay with what they did. And so in forgiveness, a different approach, I talk about how if you turn around and start forgiving yourself first, then you can untether from the energy of the other person and transcend the situation and learn to move on. So it's available right now, as all of our podcasts are available on our website and on your favorite podcast app. So tune in.
We will.
All right.
And I believe you have an announcement here.
Oh, yes. It's bingo time
Bingo
again,
time.
JG.
JG, to share with us.
Yes, indeedy. It's bingo time. How many of you have played bingo recently?
Well, you know,
Recently,
within the last
there's
year.
a few here. How about in our virtual audience? I'm looking out there. That's right, you. Yeah, all of you out there. We want you to come join us. You know, we're craving coming together, and this is a perfect opportunity to come together and play bingo and have fun. It's a family affair. We're celebrating Pride. This is Pride Month. This is a chance for us and our allies to come together and really have fun. It's on Saturday, June 19th. Hear that? Saturday, June 19th, 7 p.m. You can get in for $5. $5 could get you 50. Think about that for a moment. But most of all, we're going to have fun. We're going to have a lot of fun, and we'll even have a break, and we're going to do some chair dancing too. So, but you got to check it out. And the best way to check it out is go to slcworld.org and check on the event page, and there's all the information. You definitely want to do it today because you got to get your order in so that we can send you your bingo card, you know, so that you can play. Anyway, the details are online. Hope to see you all this Saturday as we zoom along and play bingo.
Thank you, JG, for your presence. And also, we want to acknowledge that we're having an SLC Volunteer Yard Work Day. That's also going to be on Saturday, June the 19th. That's going to be in the morning from 7:30 to 9:30 a.m. And we're, along with the Vedanta Society of Sacramento, where they're going to host over 8 acres of lovely property, including the Garden of Saints, the meditation places, a temple, a bookstore, and lotus pond with blooming lotus blossoms. So you can join our team of yard workers, and you'll do a number of things that will include weeding and mulching and what else? Trimming and all the other stuff that goes along with the activity that day. We invite you to bring your lawn chair and spend some time socially connecting with other folks. And water, fruit, as well as other snacks are going to be provided by our one and only Reverend Dave and his wonderful wife, Rachel, and they're from the Internet Explorers. So that'll be Saturday the 19th, 7:30 to 9:30 a.m.
You know, excuse me. Teresa Campos says the distracting sounds of the world have become so loud that we're often unable to hear our own voices. Well, maybe over the last year, not quite so much, but it's wrapping up again, right? So in July, you can journey with Teresa into indigenous perspectives and use of transformative tools, stories, concepts to awaken your spirit. And in this interactive workshop, you will learn the symbolic meanings of the 4 directions, discover your personal relationship with them, and find out even what your personal direction is, and how to call in medicine from the other directions as well. So join Teresa on Zoom July 7th and 14th from 6:30 to 8:30, and you can go to our website and register today. It's going to be great.
Good. Well, at this time, I'm going to invite Deborah Moskovitz. She's going to come up as a member of our Board of Trustees to give us our monthly Board of Trustees update. So take it away, Deborah.
Hello, my name is Deborah Moskovitz, and I'm the Secretary of the Board. Today, I would like to introduce our new trustee, Penny Clement. There she is. All right. She is an artist and spiritual leader who has had previous experience as board secretary. She comes to us at a time when we need inspiration on our board, and thank you, Penny, for your willingness to serve. I next have the announcement about the Gender Bender Bingo, but I don't really need to say too much about that because we already heard about it. June 19th, Gender Bender Bingo. And then the board and church have been busy with some interesting activities. In May, the governing committee had a successful meeting. To those of you who attended and brought your questions, we greatly appreciate it. The Evolutionary Council will be putting out a suggestion box for any ideas that you have that could improve our ministry. So be thinking of all those ideas. And a few weeks ago, the staff and board underwent a transformational unconscious bias training. We may pursue this further as it is a whole set of classes given by 2 dynamic women. The board is looking to find ways to bring this unconscious bias conversation to the church. And there is going to be a book club forming that will raise our social consciousness. The first book that the group will read is called White Fragility. I think you've possibly heard of that book. We invite you to join. So thank you. And
Thank you, Deborah, for your service to our community. Well, next Sunday, our plan is to fully open, provided the COVID restrictions are lifted as been rumored. We're not exactly sure what it's going to look like until the 15th, so we're inviting you to check your email for our newsletter, as well as other emails that will give you an update, because as soon as we know, you'll know. So be on the lookout. We're holding that vision and for some good news for us as we start our new venture of this. I don't even know what to call it. This new venture of this adventure that we've been on over the last year.
I think we're in the land of stay tuned.
Stay tuned. All right.
We love to greet our newcomers, and both in person and online. And we want you to know that we're just absolutely thrilled to have you with us as you walk your spiritual path. You can learn more about us by going to slcworld.org/connect. And when you go to that website, you can find a card that you can fill out, and then you can receive our weekly message, find opportunities for connecting with our prayer chaplains and small groups, which are online and probably are going to be in person and probably continue to do both. We don't know yet. You can also ask to be notified of greater ways to connect with us virtually as we expand our online community. And speaking of connecting, you can find everything that's going on at SLC at slcworld.org. Thank you for joining us today. And James, what's up next?
We got some music coming up, so we carry on our service for today.
And as we move into the introspective part of our service, let's embody the Spiritual Life Center vision together. Spiritual Life Center is a loving, vibrant family that welcomes home all people and accepts everyone, no exceptions. Weaving ancient spiritual traditions with emerging wisdom, we cultivate a spiritual deepening with the divine, each other, and our planet.
The light of God surrounds me, and all is well. The love of God enfolds me, and all is well. The power of God protects me, and the presence of God watches over me. Wherever I am, God is, and all is well. All is well. All is well. Wherever I am, God is, and all.
You can go up and see what.
All shall be well, and all shall be well, and all manner of things shall be well. As we move into this time of meditation, take a deep breath and just let it go. Breathe naturally now. Settle into your seat. Drop your shoulders. Relax your eyelids. Allow the music to pull you inward into your spiritual heart center, that area that is never touched by the busyness of the world. As you take a breath to go deeper now, become aware of an inner landscape. It is your favorite setting, a place where you feel quiet, calm, safe. Imagine an alabaster altar that emanates a soft, ethereal light. A simple golden bowl sits in the center of the altar. Sunlight plays off the edges of the bowl, beckoning you. As you approach the altar, you can see that the bowl is filled with clear, pure water. And you realize this is an opportunity for cleansing and healing. And so you reach out and gently Dip your hands in the water. It is cool and soothing. And then you lift your hands into the sunlight, and the light glints off the water on your hands and goes right into your heart center. And tension, concerns start to dissolve. Your heart feels lighter now, but you know there's more. There's more to release. So you dip your hands into the water a second time, allowing the water to flow through your hands, between your fingers. And then as you lift your hands to the sun to dry, more light flows into your heart center. And a third time, you dip your hands into the healing water. This time, cup some of the water in your hands. Lift them up as an offering to the holy sunlight, allowing the water to drip down your arms back into the sacred bowl. Your heart feels clear and open. And now you bring your hands to your heart center and listen as your heart rings out your prayers for health, abundance, inner knowing, joy in the silence. It is done. You are healed. You are complete. Take a breath or two and begin the journey back to your material body, listening to your inner voice as it says, "Oh, my beloved, you are a holy bell. All that you do, all that you say, all that you think rings into the ethers and the world as you pray. When you are quiet, when you are clear, your soul rings clear as a bell, projecting light, love, and peace. And in doing so, you become the prayer." Remember this, always.
Say, say a prayer for me. Strange fruit come down off that tree. Your feet, juicy fruit so bittersweet. Fruit stand tall, these roots go deep. Strange fruit busting on these thieves. Ancestors don't take defeat. Lift the sin of victory. In the air, tigress and tweed. Ooh, lyntheric, you carry it. I'm tired. Grin, bear it. The truth of these, you carry it. Future, you and your chariot. say, say a prayer for me. Say a prayer. George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Trayvon Martin, Tamir Rice, Sandra Bland, Eric Gardner, Betty Jones, Philando Castile, Botham Jean, Ahmaud Arbery, Stephon Clark. Say a prayer. Say a prayer for me.
Say a prayer for me. You know, that song entitled Tigress and Tweed was written and originally sung by a songstress by the name of Andra Day. And she wrote that song for a movie entitled The United States versus Billie Holiday. Andra Day was also very talented as an actress, and she played the role of Billie Holiday in that particular movie. And that song that she just sang was a tribute to Billie Holiday's most famous and controversial song at the time. This is the late 30s, 1930s. And that song was called Strange Fruit. Billie Holiday was a force of nature. She was a force to be reckoned with sometimes being referred to as the godmother of human rights and civil rights during that time. And her song, Strange Fruit, was a commentary to the horrors of lynchings that took place during that time. And of course, it was revealing a strand of human consciousness that existed during the life of Billie Holiday, who had witnessed some of these events. And of course, we know that whatever we see in the outside world, whatever state of the human condition may be at any particular moment, is really a reflection of what's going on within the group's soul, the collective consciousness. Oftentimes when bad things happen in the external world, we'll often pray to God, a God solely out there to do something. And oftentimes our prayers are about getting an entity outside of ourselves to change circumstances, to change the conditions that we're facing. And oftentimes when we have reached our limit as far as our human might, our human power, and we can't seem to do it on our own, we turn to this presence that we call God as a last resort. I recall I mentioned I saw an old clip from a program that was on many years ago, and I'm dating myself a little bit, but it was a clip from the Art Linklater show. Some of y'all may not know about Art Linklater. But he had a program in which it was entitled, The Kids Say the Darndest Things. And so he'd bring the kids on, and he'd ask them a few questions, and there was one young 7 or 8 or 9-year-old that came on the show. And he asked him, what do you want to be when you grow up? And he said, well, I either want to be a bus driver or I want to be an airline pilot. And then Art Linkletter asked the little kid this question, which I thought was a little odd, but anyway, that's part of the show, I guess. He said, well, what would you say if all 4 engines out the plane suddenly went out? And without missing a beat, the kid started saying this: Our Father who art in heaven. He was saying the Lord's Prayer. He immediately defaulted to that. You know, it reminds me of something, if you ever read Shakespeare, from the words of the play The Tempest. And somewhere in there it says, all is lost to prayers, in which we turn to God to give us the answer. But prayer does not work that way. It's not about getting God to do something. It's not about getting God to intercede or interfere in our affairs. It's not about getting God to change the conditions. God, the universe, the force, has already done all that God can do. And as the topic suggests for today, the key to prayer is you and me. So often, those on this path have a tendency to think God will fulfill their needs, that somehow God will provide their needs. God will send answers to their prayers. God handles their problems. And God will give them what they need in order to continue along their journey or to get out of the condition that they're in. But nothing could be further from the truth. God itself, or more accurately, God consciousness, God awareness is what is needed, is the answered prayer. And so our prayer is about really moving to a level where we have a dimension where we're vibrating at the level of this presence. We're vibrating at the level of this power and this love, and becomes the activity of our consciousness. It's the activity of our awareness. And we begin seeing that there is a forever something that is always happening that is good. Now, it may appear in our three-dimensional world that, when prayers are answered, that God has somehow given us something. God has provided the need. But in reality, what has happened is that this ineffable presence that's beyond words, that's everywhere, has become the awareness in us. And then the byproduct is a demonstration. The byproduct or the manifestation is the answered need or the answered prayer. But the real answered need had been the awareness of this presence itself. In other words, it's about our consciousness. The key of prayer is you and me. Oftentimes, if I talk to folks, and even my own life, where we seem to have a brilliant manifestation, an answer to a seemingly impossible situation that's come about. But oftentimes, one of the things we realize is that what preceded that was important. Because what preceded the demonstration or the manifestation of the answered prayer was the worry seemed to disappear. The trying to figure something out with our rational mind, with our mental mind, with our three-dimensional mind suddenly stops. We cease doing and trying to make it happen. And rather, what happens when individuals have that demonstration, they say they stopped, and instead there was an awareness that took place. A revelation that happened. An insight began to take over their being. And they were in the midst of prayer, and suddenly they knew that all was well and that everything was going to be okay, and they released and let go. Then shortly after that, the demonstration happened. Maybe it's an employment that they were seeking came their way. Maybe there was a healing of the physical body. Maybe there's some clarity of the relationship that took place. Maybe there was some sort of insight they were looking for that gave an answer to the challenging or perplexing situation they were facing. And sometimes we may think that those things were the demonstration, those things were the answered prayer, but they were not. The real answered prayer was the moment of clarity, that moment of insight, that moment of connection and sensing and feeling that the power and the presence and the love of God became the activity of the awareness. That was the moment. I remember probably more than one time, but at least a couple times where I'm facing a seemingly impossible situation, or got some challenges going on in my life personally, or maybe some health challenges with me, or, answers I can't figure out to what's going on. and I'm focusing a lot on the problem, and I'm trying to do my prayer, God, do something about this. And I just remember sometimes just going out, to the beach. One of my favorite places to go is just walk on the beach because it's vast, it's open. There's no limitation. There's nothing holding back. There's just unlimited possibilities there. And I walked there for a while, and all of a sudden I come to the realization that it's going to be okay. I mean, good God, if this force, this universe can just keep the earth revolving around the sun and keep the galaxies all together, my little old problem ain't no big deal. So understand that you just get to get in tune with what the solution is that's already there. So prayer is not about conditioning God with our needs or somehow begging handouts from some place called heaven, because heaven is not a place. It is a state of consciousness, a state of awareness. Prayer is conditioning our life with the activity of this presence. And it's causing a change in our tendencies. It's causing a change in our awareness. It's causing a change within us, and we're acknowledging what the reality is that has always been there. As the scriptural reference tells us in Matthew, the 6th chapter and 8th verse, notes that the Father, Mother, God presence knows what you need of even before you ask the question. So there's no need to tell God about our problems. You remember early in my path, I went to someone in the spiritual community for some prayer. And I walked up to them and I said, like, there's some prayer, and they just start praying. I said, well, up, man, don't you want to know what my problem is? I need to explain this to you so your prayer will be right, you know what I mean? And then he said to me, God don't know nothing about your problems. God don't know nothing about problems. If God knew about your problem will never go away because there would be too much power behind it. And it's important to know that God is not a problem solver. But the consciousness of God, the awareness of God, dissolves all problems. God does not give us the answer to the problem. God is the answer. God does not give us what we need. God is the need. And it's that awareness that we're seeking. And in prayer, we're creating that thankfulness right before it happens. And then ultimately something clicks in our awareness. Something hits when we connect with that Spirit of the living God. And we know that God is always on the field. Everything begins to unfold in His right and perfect way when we're vibrating at that level. And if we're not seeking that, we end up like the disciples who went to Jesus after they were doing some prayers and they were getting instructed by Him and they were doing their prayers, whatever they did back in those days. And they came to Jesus and said, hey, our prayers ain't working. This stuff ain't working, man. And Jesus told them, they do not work because you pray amiss. And I believe that what He's saying is that when you're talking and sending your energy, you're focusing on your fear. You're focusing on your lack. You're focusing on your limitations. You're focusing on the worry. I can imagine He can come to some individuals and to see them that, they have all of the accoutrements and environment around them for perfect prayer. The candles are lit. They got some incense and maybe it's that really nice smelling incense wafting through the air. And, they got the right gear on and they're gyrating around and praying to the east, the north, the south, and the west. And they're really kind of into it. And then all of a sudden they go right back on the problem. And they're focusing on the problem. But Emmett Fox reminds us, don't think about the problem. Think about God. Think about the presence. Because God don't know nothing about your problem. We do. We know about the problem. So we want to get into the consciousness of our oneness with God, our oneness with this presence. And it's not a matter of getting God into us, but for you and me to get into the awareness of that which is present. The consciousness, which is our thoughts and feelings, are the key. The beliefs that we have are the key. This is the key to healing. This is the key to all overcoming. This is where we want to direct our attention. This is where we want to vibrate at. This is where we want to direct our belief to. And if I were to sum up all these spiritual teachings, it comes down to 8 words. I counted them up this morning. I think I counted 9 because I made 1, 2. But anyway, there's 8 words. It is done unto you as you believe. Amen. As you believe. This is what prayer is all about. It's about raising our vibratory field and getting in the flow of the allness of the presence of God. So we begin to see that we and all of us are part of the flow. We're not just part of it, actually. We're a place for the flow to happen. You know, we've heard that in order to get into this flow, in order to access this, we have to get in motion with this spiritual identity. And in order to do that, we have to get into giving. And we hear metaphysically over and over again, we must get in the position of giving and releasing and sharing, because that is the nature of the universe, whether it's our time, our talent, or our substance. We've heard that over and over again. Yet often individuals, they'll say, you know, I've given and I've given and I've given and I've given. I just can't give anymore. Nothing's happening in my life. I feel depleted and exhausted. I feel used and abused. I don't feel recognized or appreciated. I don't understand this in any way, shape, or form. But this is an indication that the individual has not been giving aright. It's an indication that the individual somehow is actually thinking and actually caught up in a belief of separation and believes that somewhere along the line they had their own resource to give, that somewhere along the line they had their own stash that was not God's, that was not part of the great universe that we're in, but it was their private stash, separate and apart from the presence of God. And if they give of this stash, whether it's great or small, that some kind of way God's going to bless them, give them recognition, money, or whatever they're seeking in their life. But here is the mistake. There is no private stash. There is no personal life in that way. We have been indoctrinated and into a culture of strict materialism rather than spiritual living that has a tendency to see us separate from our source, separate from God, separate from life itself. We have to develop these concepts of separation, and we believe that we have something to give from a sense of that separation. And all that leads to is depletion and exhaustion, sometimes just frustration, and ultimately to competition at the very worst level. In our prayer work, we must ultimately come to the realization that the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof, which means it's one presence, one power, one reality, one thing going on. And we are to give is what God has already given all of us, and we are points for its expression. When that realization happens, and it's either going to happen through the pain of our own baptism of life, or it'll happen through our spiritual insight and grace. Choice is usually ours, but usually we go through pain first, and then we get kicked in the cosmic keister to that higher level of consciousness. But ultimately, we come to the realization that the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof. In other words, all there is God. All there exists. Everything else is nothing but an illusion of separation. There's a song that I'm remembering as I was coming up with this that said, only God is real. And it said something, only God is real. All the rest is just illusion. Only God is real. I can't sing as well as Carol or any other, but anyway, something along those lines. But it's reminding us that all that has been given has already been given to us. Either we're in the flow of this or we're not in the flow and we're damming it up with our misbeliefs about life. But with insight, but with awareness and practicing in the presence, something good begins to happen. Whether we're going through our dark times or we're going through up times or light times, when we practice the presence, something happens, and that something is going to be good because God is good, and it cannot help but be an offspring of good when we have that in alignment with our own consciousness. Anyway. I always like to leave with a practical tip, practical tool. Not to say that any of the other stuff was impractical, but like a practical idea. You know, because we believe in practical spirituality. And most of us all are familiar with the traditional visualization. And basic visualization has been around for a long time. It was really very powerful in my life and when I first got into this work. And it basically says we can manifest our goals and materialize our prayers if we begin to sit and visualize our goal and see that prayer request coming to us and we see it accomplished. We see it somewhere coming toward us and happening to us. And it's a very powerful tool. In fact, science has said that imagery can program our mind and send out a message to the entire universe, but we can take it a step further. There's even more to it that we can do. Imagine it's already done. It's already done. In other words, the goal of the prayer has already been answered before we even come up with the call. In fact, if we imagine that it happened yesterday. You know, the day has passed and the manifestation or answered prayer has showed up and we're feeling, what's it like to have it already complete? Because if we assume that the desire we want is already done, we don't have to have that desire anymore or even want for it. And we experience it already complete, that sends a totally different message to our mind and our consciousness that's saying, hey, we're going to have to manufacture this for this person, for he or she, because they already believe it's real. And so signals sent out to hone into what God has already done and has already created. Understand, in the mind of God, there is no past, there is no present, there is no future. What was, what is, and what will be already exists in the mind of God. That's a mind-blowing thing. But, you know, we're not going to try to dwell on that right now. That's a whole probably metaphysical course. All we have to do is connect with what is already done by raising our vibratory energy to match what already exists in this presence. We act as if it's already done on the spiritual plane because it already is. So if you want to go on an exotic trip, I know I do. Heck, I want to go on any kind of trip, tell you the truth, after 15 months of being kind of like locked in and so forth. Exotic or not. Instead of merely imagining getting on the plane, which we would do in the visualization, see ourselves sitting on the beach, sipping a pina colada drink with the umbrella in it. That might be my fantasy and vision. And that's a good one. But imagine all that's already done. It already happened. Imagine you've already swam with the dolphins yesterday. You were counting the sumptuous meals that you ate and the great conversations that you had with the people that you've met while you already had it. You've just got off a wonderful airplane ride that was just smooth sailing the whole way through, and you had a great conversation with somebody sitting next to you, unlike a lot of times when you're on the plane. This is beautiful. It was like magnificent. It happens in our imagination first. Because it says first in mind or first in spirit, then in the material world. So when we say the key to prayer is you, the key to prayer is me, I'm simply saying when we're affirming that life is good, we're affirming that all our needs are met, we're affirming that our body temple is a fit and vital instrument of the pure Spirit of God. We're affirming that everything is working together for our good. We're affirming that we have a world that works for everyone, that the entire universe is operating to fulfill itself through you and me. We recognize that we don't have to pray. God is praying for us. He said, come on down. It's ready. Raise yourself. Be in tune with it. And it begins to show up in a way that you never imagined. And when we raise that consciousness, we feel that connection that is already done. And that is the answer. That is the answer we're all going for. And believe me, you get to that, you have the entire universe behind you. And it doesn't get any better than that. That's all I got to say. Peace and blessings to you. And it looks like I gotta come back next week. I'm on the schedule again. And the next week we're gonna talk about the formula demonstration, kind of build upon what he just talked about. It's already done. It's already done. So if you don't leave with anything else, leave with that. Yes. Well, at this point, we have an opportunity to support Spiritual Life Center. If those who are there would like to give, just you can leave it at the baskets at the exits here. But those who are online, we invite you to support Spiritual Life Center with your gift. And you can give by texting SLC Love to 44321. It's texting SLC Love to 44321. Or you can go to our website, slcworld.org, and you can donate in other ways, including by mail. You just go on our website, look for the Donate tab, and you can give in other ways, including you can find our address if you'd like to send in a check. And if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, depending on what platform you're on, like us, comment, share, subscribe, so we can spread this message to as many people who are yearning for it, that are looking for it, that don't even know that they're looking for it. So thank you for your presence. Thank you for your consciousness. And at this time, we're going to affirm our offertory blessing. And if you're online, I want to hear it from you as you speak it out loud, these words. Divine love, as me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, and all that I circulate. Thank you, God.
Yeah. Wanna help somebody.
Now, help somebody, and your living shall not be in vain. That's a very great message to end on. And now today, let us say our prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds us. I am the light of God. The love of God enfolds us. I am the love of God. The power of God protects us. I am the power of God. The presence of God watches over us. I am the presence of God. Wherever we are, God is. I am. And all is well. Peace, blessings to you. Have a great day, great week. And we're hoping for continuously good news in our world. Because
On our feet, let us walk with each other.